Super Bowl Sunday is a holiday in the college basketball world because we've been here since November. We're here year round, but the entire country of sports culture and sports fans now turns to college basketball because March Madness is the next big thing on the calendar. On with the Q&A. Who is the top dog now since Auburn and Duke lost? Since they both lost on Saturday, I've been seeing every single major network and a lot of people on social media saying that Auburn and Duke lose and they're number 1 and 2, so they have to drop, and whoever's below them, if they won, has to come up. But I don't think it's that simple. They have done and proven all year. I don't think it's fair to just constitute you lose, you get knocked down no matter what, especially for Auburn losing to Florida, who is clearly a top 5 team in the country. And you look at Auburn's entire season, they have been absolutely incredible. They lost to Duke and Florida, so I think Auburn stays. I think it's fine to switch Alabama and Duke at 2 and 3. So it would be Auburn, Alabama, Duke. And then after the win at Auburn, I have Florida and then Tennessee right behind them, Houston, St. John's, etc. after that. Is it possible that we get an all SEC 1 seed line? It's ridiculous that we're even having that conversation and I'm answering this question. Let's go through all the 1 seeds and find the path. Auburn is the closest thing to a lock for a 1 seed. They are not going to fall off that line. Alabama's the second 1 seed right now, so they're pretty firmly on there. Duke, considering that they're probably going to win the ACC title and conference tournament, they would be the third 1 seed. Now, at this point, after the win at Auburn, I think Florida is the fourth 1 seed, but Tennessee is very close as the top 2 seed. And you got Purdue, Houston, and Texas A&M in the SEC on the back end of the 2 seed line. But to answer the question, if there were going to be 4 SEC 1 seeds, it would have to be Auburn, Alabama, Florida, and Tennessee. Is it possible? Like, sure, mathematically, I guess it is. But you're basically going to need all 4 of those SEC teams to be perfect, especially Florida and Tennessee to beat Auburn and Alabama once or twice. And you're going to need Duke to take another loss and not win the ACC title. You might need Purdue or Houston or Iowa State to have some bumps on the road also. Like, to get 4 1 seeds in one conference is ridiculous. 3 1 seeds, sure, they have it right now, and it has happened before. They would join 2009 Big East, which was ridiculous, and 2019 ACC, which produced Virginia as the national champion that year. And like I said, as of right now, they deserve it. This conference has been absolutely ridiculous, especially these top 5 or 6 teams. Can the Big West be a 3-bid league if a team other than UC Irvine or San Diego wins their tournament? Start off with their rematch game from this Saturday. Great game. I think both teams have proven that they are tournament quality and caliber teams. Like, I have no doubt in my mind about that. But 3 bids ain't going to happen. I'm just going to be honest here. I'm still focused on trying to get this conference to get 2 bids, which is still more unlikely than likely. When you compare these 2 schools' resumes to a lot of the other bubble teams, metric ranks, net ranks, like, they are on the back end of it. Their strength of record is a little behind them. They don't have a ton of major quad 1 games, even though they have quad 1 wins and games. Like, they're both there. They're in the conversation, but to get both of them into the tournament, I think UC San Diego has the better chance to get an at-large because they have the 2 quad 1 wins. They rank better in net and KenPom. They're not far off in strength of record. But like I said, to get both of them in, I think that's going to take UC San Diego to win out every single game to the Big West Tournament Final, and then UC Irvine beats them in the Big West Tournament Final, or maybe vice versa if it's UC Irvine winning out and losing to San Diego in the final. But I'm pulling for it because I'll say it again, they are both tournament caliber teams, and the bubble is soft. Like, there are teams like North Carolina who they're 1-9 in quad 1 games. Like, a lot of these big time teams that have 8, 9, 10 losses already, like, they're not proving much to me, but these 2 teams are. Got a lot of questions on Arizona. Are they a top 10 team? What are my thoughts? A lot of people think I hate Arizona because I don't talk about them a lot. So that's fair. That's fair. I don't hate them, for the record. They look like a new team. Like, they're 13-1 in their last 14 games. They only lost to Texas Tech at Texas Tech, and they got their revenge this weekend against them. They didn't lose like super bad games out of conference, but 100%, like, the eye test, just watching them in November and December and then watching them now in February, you can tell that they are basically a different team. Like, they have been awesome. I think the reason, at least personally, that I haven't talked about them a ton and people think I don't like them is because they're kind of underwhelmingly good because they're not overwhelmingly good at like one thing or one facet of the game or one style, which is great for them, for the record. Like, I think that bodes well for being able to win in the postseason and the rest of the year. Like, you're good offensively, you're good defensively, you have size, you have guards. They're on fire right now. There's not much else to say. They look like a top 10 team in the country, or at least close to it. Another team that's on fire, Creighton. Can you please talk about Creighton basketball? They are the only team to beat St. John's since like December. I think it's since November, and they're the hottest team in the country behind Arizona. Perfect timing. Jays 11-1 in their last 12, and they are the only team to beat St. John's since November. I never expected them to get better and be this good in general without Pop Isaacs and having that injury kind of affect them. Stephen Ashworth and Ryan Kalkbrenner have been like on another planet. I have never envisioned this for Stephen Ashworth, and I love it. Jemiah Neal and some of their depth definitely gives them good games and good PT and stuff, but They revolve around Ashworth and Kalkbrenner, one of the best duos in the country, especially inside out when you look at a guard and a big. Especially after their win against Marquette, there's an easy case to make for them to be the second team in the Big East right now. While we're on the topic of hot teams and hot streaks, thoughts on the Akron Zips' longest win streak in the country. So I guess on paper and mathematically in the records will say that they're the hottest team in the country. Akron's good and they're super unique. They are clearly the top dog in the MAC right now. They're undefeated in conference play and they are in full control. What's crazy about them is that they are the smallest team in the country. Like, I'm not even saying that they're like bottom 5, bottom 10. Like, they are 364th in effective height, and they're undefeated in conference play right now. They have a couple of forwards they play, but it's mostly guards that are anywhere from 5'11", 6 foot to 6'3", and they push the pace super, super fast. They use that speed. They shoot a ton. They make a lot, and they go really deep into the bench. So because they play so fast, their fitness and they get tired, like it happens, it's natural. So they sub in and out, and everybody that goes in has the green light and can shoot and can score for the most part. It'll be interesting to see if they can completely win out in MAC like they have been and win that tournament and get to the NCAA tournament, because that would put them into a pretty good seed conversation, and they're comfortable playing undersized and winning as an undersized team. So it's interesting to know if they can do that against a power team in the tournament also. Jase Richardson. I agree. I'll tell you, this kid is something else. I think he's one of the most underrated freshmen in the country because he doesn't get that PT a ton. This is his first start of the year because Fears was out. But how, if you're Tom Izzo, do you watch Jase Richardson in this game? Especially with the way he shoots the ball from three, because that's your team's biggest weakness and he's your team's best shooter. But how do you look at him and say, I can't start him, or I can't at least find a way to play him 30 minutes every single night? Because you can argue that he's their best player on their team. Like, that's not a joke or an exaggeration at all. Keep your front court the same. Start Fears at the 1. Play Jase and Akins as your 2 wings, your scoring wings. Have Holloman, Fiddler, and Cohen Carr off the bench. Like, you go deep into the bench. You rely on your second unit a lot right now. So it's not a problem to say, hey, like, Trey, like, you're going to be our second unit lead guard now. Jase has been that good, and he changes the trajectory of Michigan State if he can play on high volume and high usage, especially high scoring usage and shooting usage a lot. I just can't think of a reason not to play him 30 minutes every single game. Who should IU's next head coach be? First of all, Indiana needs to do this. Like, they needed to get off of Mike Woodson. I know he's an IU guy and a former player, and he had some coaching experience, but we see this way too often with ex-players coaching at their alma maters, and they have too long of a leash and they kind of linger on too long. Think about Patrick Ewing at Georgetown, Juwan Howard at Michigan, Jerry Stackhouse. The schools don't want to make one of their own look bad, so they let their team suffer, and that's not the way to do things. Lucky for Indiana, they're getting out of this, so who do I like for their job? I think at first, especially when you have the history and culture that Indiana basketball does, you got to make some unrealistic calls. All Brad Stevens, he's an IU guy, but he has great coaching experience. Obviously, at Butler, doing wonders for that program, bringing them to 2 Final Fours and on the pro level and as an executive on the pro level. Nate Oates, Bruce Pearl, Scott Drew, they're going to turn you down. And the same for Dusty May. I know he's an Indiana guy, but in what world does Dusty May have a great first season at Michigan and make a completely lateral in-conference rival move to Indiana just because he went there? Like, I think Indiana was a year too late for Dusty, and only because they were holding on to Woodson because he is a former IU guy. Let me get to the reality offers. TJ Otzelberger is first on the list. He's done great things for the Iowa State program, but it's really tough to do that in Ames, Iowa, and at that program. So give him what you got at Indiana, and he would be incredible. Buzz Williams similarly could be poached. He has coaching experience at Virginia Tech and at Marquette, so he's not like a geographical restricted guy. Will Wade, I'd give a call to. I think he's probably going to end up being an SEC or ACC guy somewhere down south like Miami. I mentioned Scott Drew. Why not call Bryce Drew, who has coached in the Midwest at Vandy and Valpo before? He's done wonders for the GCU program. He's a good player. He's a good coach. He's proven that he can kind of do it at a high level. And Ben McCullum at Drake. Like, why not? You would think on paper that maybe that's riskier because he has coached 1 season in Division I basketball now, but he won 4 national titles on the D2 level. He's proving that good basketball coaching, like good schematic and sound disciplinary coaching, wins at every level. They've been unbelievable, Drake, this year. So if they win the MVC, get to the NCAA tournament, maybe even do some damage, especially, like, why not call Ben McCullum, especially if you go down your list of guys that are saying no to you? I did get a lot of questions about CAA basketball this week. It's been awesome. There's been a ton of parity. I was also at a CAA basketball game on Saturday, so I think people saw my story. They were asking me. The parity has been great. I think there's about 5 teams who can win the league right now. Got teams like Monmouth, shout out Long Branch, New Jersey, are 6-6 in league play right now, and that really speaks to the parity in the entire league. Towson are the leaders, and they're good. I was not impressed, overly impressed at least, with them when I watched them play at Monmouth. Like, they really don't control the flow or pace of a game. It was only one game, sure, and I have seen them play before, but I think that speaks to the parity more than saying Towson's not that good. I think it's just going to be tough to win the CAA. Charleston has proven that they can't consistently control games. I'd say that Wilmington is probably the best suited team for the postseason and to win out from here on out, even though Towson is number one right now. But it's going to be a damn good race the rest of the way. Iowa State with Milan Momcilovic back. Iowa State's skid has not been fun, but when you look at when Milan got hurt, it was for that Kansas game. Since then, really, their offense has been what has been tanked, and I think him being a forward, one, and also two, adding that perimeter layer, the three-point layer, to pull forwards and size out to open up space for your bigs and to move the ball and to run more sets has really, really been huge for their offense, and that's basically the proof is in the pudding. Like, look at their last few games. I don't think that Milan being out is the only reason that they haven't been playing well until he got back, but they very, very clearly need Milan healthy because their offense suffers, and their offense last year is what held them back in the tournament from being able to make a Final Four and contend for a national championship, and that's what they want to do this year. Personal question to end it. Did you ever play basketball, and if so, what was your career like? I did play basketball, but that was in middle school. And I'm going to stop y'all there because I know you probably think, like, I'm a stats nerd, whatever, behind the camera, but I know I can hoop. Like, I am athletic. I've been playing a million different sports my entire life, but I was 5'1" or 5'0" going into high school, and I was playing soccer and a bunch of other things. So I basically I decided at least to prioritize my stuff into soccer. I was admittedly a much better soccer player, especially at the time also. But I do wish I kept playing competitive ball outside of local stuff because I hit a growth spurt from like 5'1" to like 5'11" from my freshman to junior year in high school. It was just a late bloomer. I stopped playing AAU. I didn't play high school. I didn't go into college and stuff. I did play with my men's team in college. I did play pickup with them. And I've been playing more than ever recently, to be completely honest. I know I can play, and I'm preaching this because I know people don't think I can do anything, but I promise I can. A basketball career, not much of. Soccer career, there's a lot more to go off of, but this ain't a soccer channel. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. I appreciate y'all for being here. As always, especially if you're at the end, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn noties on, especially as we get, a few weeks, like 4 weeks away from conference tournament play in March. Like, it is coming soon. The country turns to college basketball. Like, this is our time of the year, and I am excited for it. Hope you all have a great week. Peace.